Let's be real, people lie more than you think, and it's not always the strangers who deceive us. It can be friends, partners, or even family members. We like to think we can easily spot lies, but we often ignore warning signs because we want to trust those close to us. I've experienced this firsthand. I believed I was good at reading people until I discovered that someone I trusted had been lying to me for months. The issue wasn't that I missed the signs. I chose to overlook them. The subtle changes in their behavior, the exaggerated excuses, and their sudden defensiveness were all there, but I convinced myself it was nothing. The reality is that people lie frequently, and accepting this truth can help you see through their facades. If you're ready to face the truth, here are some clear signs that you might be getting lied to. 1. Red flag is when someone quickly changes the subject. Have you ever had a conversation where someone dodged your questions so quickly it felt like a game of verbal dodgeball? You might bring up an important topic and suddenly they're talking about something completely unrelated. It's as if they have a ready escape route, disappearing into a safe topic when things get too real. I once experienced this in a relationship. Whenever I tried to discuss future plans or difficult situations, my partner would divert the conversation to trivial matters, like what to have for dinner or something they saw online. At first, I didn't notice this behavior. I thought they weren't ready to discuss serious topics or that I was being too intense. But the truth is, they were never ready, and that avoidance indicated a deeper issue. An unwillingness to take responsibility. People don't change the subject simply because they're forgetful or distracted. They do it because confronting the truth is uncomfortable. We often let them avoid these discussions because we don't want to seem pushy, preferring to keep the peace even if it means ignoring dishonesty. This is where we go wrong. Avoiding tough conversations doesn't prevent conflict, it invites dishonesty. When someone quickly changes the subject, it's not just avoidance, it's a refusal to engage with the truth. It shows they prioritize their comfort over your clarity. This raises questions about the foundation of your relationship, whether with a partner, friend, or colleague. Lies don't always manifest as blatant falsehoods. Sometimes they're as subtle as a change in conversation. We often think only spoken lies matter, but the unspoken ones can gradually erode trust. I learned this the hard way. Each time I allowed the conversation to shift, I was silently accepting their avoidance, giving them permission to keep me in the dark. I wanted to believe everything was fine, so I let the subject change. But allowing people to steer conversations away from the truth compromises the integrity of the relationship. Here's what I've learned. Don't let people off the hook when they try to change the subject. It's not about being confrontational. It's about establishing a standard for honesty. If someone values you, they will engage in tough conversations, no matter how uncomfortable. If they don't, it may be time to reconsider the nature of your relationship. Ultimately, truth, no matter how difficult, builds stronger bonds than any carefully crafted lie. 2. Listen to understand, not just to respond. Listening is one of the most underrated skills in the art of charm, yet it is essential for making people feel truly special. The problem is that many of us don't actually listen. Instead, we wait for our turn to speak. We focus on crafting our next response and miss the opportunity to truly hear what someone is saying. This is the quickest way to make someone feel invisible. Here's a tough truth. If you're not listening to understand, you're wasting your time. I've been guilty of this too, nodding along in conversations while mentally preparing my next point. People can sense when you're only waiting to talk, and it doesn't make them feel valued, it makes them feel used. That's not charm, that's selfishness. When you listen to truly understand, you show respect to the other person and build a deeper connection beyond superficial small talk. You create a safe space for them to express themselves without the pressure of a debate. I remember a time when I was talking to a colleague who was clearly struggling. My instinct was to jump in with advice, but I chose to just listen. No interruptions, no suggestions, just my full attention. As a result, they opened up even more and said, "I've never felt so heard." That moment taught me that sometimes the best thing you can do is simply listen. In a noisy world, genuine listening is a rare gift. People don't always want advice or opinions. They want understanding. They want to feel that someone truly gets them. When you can offer that, you stand out as someone who cares. That's real charm. So stop listening just to reply. Listen to understand. That's how you make people feel seen and valued. And that's where the real magic of connection happens. 3. Defensive without cause. It's common to encounter people who become overly defensive in response to simple, harmless questions. For example, if you ask, "Did you take the last slice of pizza?" they might react as if you've accused them of a serious crime, launching into a long explanation of how they would never do such a thing. This kind of reaction is excessive and often indicates that they are hiding something. Let me share a personal experience. During a group project, one of my teammates became noticeably defensive whenever I asked for updates on his work. I would casually ask, "How's the report coming along?" But he would immediately respond with accusations, saying things like, "Why do you always think I'm slacking off? I'm working hard and don't need micromanagement." This was the same person who spent most of our meetings on his phone. Eventually, we discovered that he had done very little work and was trying to cover it up. Here's the controversial point. People who react defensively when they have nothing to hide are often the ones who are guilty of something. It's a classic case of the hit dog yelps. From my experience, when someone reacts this way, it's wise to step back and consider what they might be trying to protect. If someone is truly innocent, they won't feel the need to turn a simple question into a personal attack. Honest individuals are calm and straightforward, while guilty ones tend to be on high alert as if they are bracing for consequences. The key takeaway is understanding human behavior. When someone is defensive without a valid reason, it often stems from guilt rather than integrity. You need to recognize that their overreaction isn't about you crossing a line. It's about them trying to prevent you from discovering the truth. They may act like everything is fine while locking all the doors, hoping you won't try to find out what's really going on. Moreover, when we ignore these defensive reactions, we enable dishonesty. We inadvertently teach people that they can evade accountability by making us feel guilty for asking questions. It's important to prioritize honesty over comfort. People will go to great lengths to avoid being caught in a lie, and defensiveness is just one of their tactics. So, the next time someone reacts excessively defensive to a simple question, don't shy away. Stay curious and probe a little deeper, because their reaction is often just a cover-up for the truth, and you deserve to uncover it. 4. Over-polished details. Have you ever heard someone tell a story so flawlessly crafted that it feels like it was rehearsed for an Oscar-worthy performance? Every detail is perfectly placed, the timing is impeccable, and the story flows so smoothly that it seems almost too good to be true. Well, chances are it is. I've encountered this more times than I'd like to admit. There was a guy I knew, let's call him Jake, who could spin stories like no one else. His tales had the cinematic flair you expect from a Hollywood script. One time, he shared an elaborate story about a business deal he closed, describing every moment as if narrating a scene from a James Bond movie. Everything was seamless, right down to the exact moment he signed the contract and sealed the deal with a firm handshake, gazing out at the city skyline. You could almost hear the dramatic soundtrack rising in the background. But here's the reality. Life is messy. It doesn't follow a script. When someone's story sounds like it's been rehearsed for a TED Talk, it should raise a red flag. In Jake's case, he had exaggerated much of it and fabricated the rest. The catch is that most people hesitate to call out these overly polished stories because we enjoy a good narrative. We love engaging tales that are neat and captivating, so we often overlook our instincts that something might be wrong. This is precisely how liars get away with their fabrications. They count on our desire for tidy narratives. We want stories that make sense, that are clean and easy to digest. The untidiness of the truth can be inconvenient, but life doesn't come in perfect packages. If a story feels too smooth, it's likely fiction, not fact. Here's the deeper truth. When someone over-polishes their details, they aren't just trying to impress you, they're trying to control the narrative. They want you to accept their tailored version of events that benefits them. It's as if they are the director, writer, and star of their own movie, and you are just the audience expected to applaud without questioning. Yet, it's essential to remember that perfection doesn't exist in real life. I discovered this the hard way while probing deeper into Jake's stories. Whenever I asked for a bit more detail, his narratives would begin to unravel. The once flawless tale of success became a patchy, awkward mess. That's the nature of liars. They can rehearse, but they struggle with follow-up questions. Real-life details are complex, and if someone's account seems overly polished, it signals they are weaving a fantasy rather than sharing the truth. The important takeaway here is that life is intricate, messy, and filled with imperfections, and that's perfectly okay. When someone presents a story where every detail aligns perfectly and nothing goes awry, they are likely selling you an illusion. Buying into that illusion does a disservice to yourself because genuine connection, trust, and relationships are built on raw honesty, even if it's uncomfortable. So the next time you hear a story that seems a bit too polished, don't just sit back and enjoy the show. Ask questions and dig deeper. The real truth is messy. If someone isn't willing to reveal their imperfections, they aren't sharing the truth at all. Remember, life doesn't need to be perfect to be honest, and anyone who acts otherwise might be hiding something from you. 5. Body turned away from you. Have you ever noticed that when someone's body is angled away from you, even while they're talking, it sends a mixed message? Their words might say they're engaged, but their body language suggests they'd rather be elsewhere. This subtle signal often goes unnoticed, but it can reveal a lot. For example, I had a friend who would shift his body away whenever our conversations turned personal or uncomfortable. At first, I thought it was just his sitting position or discomfort, but over time, it became clear that his body was trying to escape the conversation. I didn't need a psychology degree to realize something was wrong. Eventually, I discovered he had been lying about a few things, nothing major, but enough to break some trust. His body was aware of the truth before his words revealed it. Many people dismiss body language as unimportant or overthink it, but they're mistaken. Unlike words, our bodies don't lie. When someone turns their body away from you, even slightly, it often indicates their subconscious is trying to distance itself from the truth. Unfortunately, most of us ignore these signs because we don't want to confront what they might mean. We convince ourselves it's just a habit or not a big deal. However, if someone is physically distancing themselves from you, it's a red flag. This doesn't always indicate a major lie, but it definitely suggests something is off. When people can't face you directly, it's not just about comfort, it's about avoiding confrontation with the reality of the situation. Their body language can reveal their discomfort before they even realize it. I used to overlook these signs, thinking I was overanalyzing things, but after witnessing this pattern repeatedly, I learned that when someone turns away from you during a conversation, it's not just restlessness. They are likely trying to avoid being fully seen because they're hiding something. The key takeaway is that body language doesn't exist in isolation. If someone's body turns away while speaking, it signals discomfort with the topic. They might be trying to shield themselves not from you, but from the truth they don't want to reveal. It's as if they believe that by turning away, they can escape your ability to see through them. From this experience, I've learned not to ignore these signs. It may feel awkward to notice, and even more uncomfortable to address. But body language is one of the most honest forms of communication. When someone turns away, they create emotional, mental, and physical distance. And if you don't address it, that distance will only grow. So, the next time you're in a conversation and notice someone subtly angling away, take it as a cue. It might be time to ask the tough questions they're avoiding, or to dig deeper to uncover what they're hiding. Remember, honesty doesn't turn its back on you, and neither should the people you trust. 6. Laughing off serious topics. Have you ever tried to have a serious conversation with someone, only to have them laugh it off as if it's nothing? You might be discussing something meaningful, like a personal issue that's bothering you, and their response is an awkward chuckle followed by a quick change of subject. It feels like they're using humor to avoid facing the truth. At first, this might seem harmless, even charming, but when someone consistently dismisses serious topics with laughter, it often indicates they are hiding something. Let me share a personal experience. In a past relationship, I would attempt to discuss important issues, real, meaningful conversations. I might say something like, "I've been feeling disconnected lately," only to be met with laughter and a comment like, "Oh, you're overthinking things, relax." That laugh wasn't just a casual reaction. It was a way to dismiss the conversation and evade the issue. Over time, I noticed that any time I tried to bring up something serious, it was met with humor, sarcasm, or a quick joke. I realized that laughter was being used as a way to avoid accountability and uncomfortable truths. Here's where it gets tricky. We've all been taught that humor is a positive thing. It lightens the mood, diffuses tension, and makes people feel comfortable. However, when someone repeatedly uses laughter to sidestep serious discussions, it's a warning sign. It's as if they're trying to sneak lies past you, disguised as jokes. Many people let this behavior slide because no one wants to be the person who kills the mood by pushing too hard on a topic that's been turned into a joke. People often laugh off serious issues because they want to avoid the weight of the conversation. It's an escape route. They prefer to keep things light and breezy so you don't dig deeper. But the reality is that meaningful conversations, the ones that truly matter, are not always easy or lighthearted. They're meant to challenge you, provoke thought, and encourage honesty. If someone can't handle that, you have to wonder what they might be hiding behind their laughter. This behavior reflects a lack of emotional maturity. When people laugh off serious topics, they indicate they are either not ready or unwilling to engage in an honest conversation. It's like they're putting a humorous facade over something they can't explain. This could stem from a fear of vulnerability or the realization that discussing these topics might reveal truths they've been trying to bury. I've seen this pattern repeatedly. People use humor to deflect and make you feel like you're the one being overly serious. But there's nothing wrong with taking important matters seriously. If someone laughs off a serious topic, don't hesitate to confront them. Asking, "Why is this funny to you?" can reveal the discomfort they're trying to hide. The real problem with laughing off serious discussions is that it shuts down communication before it even begins. It's like putting up a huge no-entry sign on the path to genuine conversation. If you don't address this behavior, critical discussions about relationships, trust, and accountability will never occur. Everything will remain superficial, and nothing will be resolved. The deeper message is that honesty isn't always fun or lighthearted, and it shouldn't be dismissed with laughter. If someone can't take serious matters seriously, it's not just about avoiding one conversation, it's about evading real connection and truth. If they can't confront difficult topics with you, how much trust can you truly place in them? So the next time someone laughs off a serious conversation, don't let it slide. Ask the tough questions and press on the uncomfortable truths. Laughter might lighten the moment, but it doesn't erase the underlying issues. If they aren't willing to drop the act, you have your answer. they're not being honest with you. 7. Vagueness when pressed for specifics. Have you ever had a moment when you ask someone for details and they suddenly start speaking in vague terms filled with grand gestures but provide no actual information? You press them for specifics, dates, names, facts, and they respond with a lot of fluff, avoiding the point as if they're dancing in a fog. It's incredibly frustrating, and it's a major red flag. If someone can't give you straightforward answers when you ask, they might be hiding something. Let me share an example from my own life. I had a coworker who frequently boasted about closing big deals, but whenever we asked for more details, like which companies were involved or how far along the negotiations were, they became masters of evasion. They would say things like, "Oh, we're just in the early stages, having some exciting conversations. Can't share too much right now, but it's huge." Weeks would pass, and the story would remain the same. Eventually, we discovered that not only was there no deal, but this person had fabricated half of the conversations, bluffing in hopes that no one would dig deeper. Now, here's the controversial part. When someone gets vague in response to specific questions, it's often a sign that they are lying. Vagueness is a liar's best friend because it allows them to avoid accountability. It's like trying to catch smoke with your hands. You feel like you're making progress, but they keep slipping away with half answers and convoluted responses. They rely on you being too polite or distracted to press them further. Honest people don't need to hide behind vagueness. They can provide clear answers because they have nothing to conceal. If you ask them for details, they'll give you straightforward information, no evasions. Liars, on the other hand, thrive in gray areas. They know that the more vague they are, the harder it is for you to hold them accountable. This is classic avoidance behavior, and many people fall for it because we've been conditioned not to push too hard. We often worry about coming off as rude or needy for answers. Let's be honest, we've all been vague at times, whether because we weren't prepared, felt cornered, or didn't want to admit we didn't know something. The difference is that an honest person will acknowledge their uncertainty. Saying, "I'm not sure right now," or "I needed to check on that," is much different from providing a lot of fluff just to appear in control. The real issue arises when people deliberately use vagueness to avoid being caught. This behavior undermines the foundation of trust in any relationship, whether personal or professional. The worst part is that they rely on your good nature to avoid being pressed too hard. They hope you'll let it slide because asking for specifics feels awkward. But when that awkwardness arises, that's the moment to dig deeper and seek clarity. People who can't provide specific answers when asked directly are often uncomfortable with the truth. Here's the hard truth. Many will excuse this behavior by saying the person is just bad with details or too busy. However, I've learned that genuine honesty doesn't shy away from specifics. If someone cares about being truthful, they'll be clear. If they're dancing around the question, it's a signal that they have something to hide. I've stopped letting people off the hook with vague answers. If you want to know if someone is being honest, pay attention to how they respond when you ask for specifics. Do they seem uncomfortable? Do they give broad, sweeping statements without real content? That's your cue to ask more questions. If they still can't provide a clear answer, take it as a sign that they're not being truthful. The deeper takeaway is that honesty isn't always convenient, but it is clear and direct. It doesn't hide behind ambiguity. When someone refuses to give you specifics, they may be afraid of what the details will reveal. It's as if they're building a wall of vagueness to keep you from seeing the truth. If they can't break down that wall for you, you need to ask yourself why they're building it in the first place. So the next time someone gives you a vague answer when you're seeking specifics, don't back down. You deserve clarity, and anyone who respects you will be willing to provide it. Vagueness may seem like a minor issue, but it can signal deeper problems that can erode trust faster than any outright lie. In conclusion, lies don't always come wrapped in obvious deceit. Sometimes it's the little things, the vague answers, polished stories, and awkward laughs that reveal the truth. If you start paying attention to these subtle signs, you'll uncover the truths that people try to hide in plain sight. Don't be afraid to ask tough questions and don't settle for half-truths. You deserve honesty, and those who can't provide it are the ones you need to distance yourself from. Stay sharp and stay true.